Remember when Kick was the big thing? Yeah, I do. In about the mid-2010s or early 2010s. And guess what? People still use it. I just found out. I don't even know why it's still running in America, because most of the people who use it are usually in Canada, Germany, or the UK. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. Let's get to the story. I didn't even know it was still around just until recently. So, one night I was at a movie theater. And, by the way, this takes place 2 months before the pandemic of the coronavirus. I'm a 16-year-old female, by the way. And this random kid, we'll call Carl, comes up to me. Carl tells me he is 16 and he thinks I look cool. Now, that was pretty weird. Who walks up to someone and tells them they are cool or looks cool and wants to talk to them? But for some reason, I just looked past it and continued to talk to him. I was actually a few minutes late to the movie. I was just standing right side of the theater room talking to this guy. My 2 friends I went with thought I liked this guy. They said they decided to leave me alone with him, so they went into the movie theater and started watching. After I see them late to the movie, I tell him I gotta go, but before I can go, he tells me if I got kicked. I tell him no, but I'll get it later if he gives me his username, and so that's what he does. So about 2 weeks later, I remember he gave me his username on Kick, so I decided I'll re-download it. I hadn't had it in 2 years almost. I also made a new account. I couldn't find the password to my last one. Whatever, I never used it anyway when I had it. So I searched up this guy, and of course his name pops up. He had a little anime profile picture. I friend him or whatever, and he immediately tells me to go to the movie theater I met him at, so we could go on a date and watch a new movie tomorrow. I don't remember which one, but it doesn't have any relevance to the story. So the next day I get there, and of course, Carl is standing there, and with him is a full-grown man in a wheelchair, bald-headed, wrinkly skin, and he looked like he was all cut up. He looked messed up too. He introduces me as his friend and says he was dying to meet me. I find that weird, but whatever, right? He doesn't say anything the whole time, but halfway through the movie, he just stands up and leaves. I get pissed and ask Carl if this is some kind of joke. Really, he was in a wheelchair and just got up and left. He then tells me, hey, that reminds me, I had some candy in the car and money for popcorn, let's go get it. And even though he was obviously just trying to change the topic, but stupid me agrees, and we go out in the almost pitch dark of the winter night, and he grabs my hands. Hey, let's go for a drive, he says. I then look in his car and see the old fake wheelchair guy and an older lady smoking a cigarette in the back seats of the car he was driving, which was a 2011 Honda Accord if anyone was wondering. I asked who the hell those 2 people really are, because they are way too old to be his friends. He then confesses to me the truth. They were his parents, and he wanted to have me over and we could watch TV with his parents in his parents' garage, which is where he lived. I tell him no thanks, and I'm super weirded out why this guy wants me to watch TV with him and his parents when I barely know him. He then grabs my hand. No, please come with me. He literally friggin' screams. No, creep, get the hell away from me. I snap back, and then I go for my Nissan and I hightail it out of there. So, weird Kick movie theater guy, let's not meet again. Hey guys, long-time reader, first-time poster. Here's a bit of background. I'm a 17-year-old male working a minimum wage job at a movie theater. It's a small family-owned establishment in New Jersey. Nothing like Regal Cinemas or AMC. It's an okay neighborhood, but a lot seems to happen in that area of township. So this happened my very first day working there. I'm behind the register, learning how to ring out customers' food and whatnot, and my trainer leaves me to help a few other customers, thinking that I got it down and that I know what I'm doing. Bad idea. A gentleman walks in, bald, and with what appears to be snot dripping from his nose. A lot of it, greenish, shiny, and in his hand, he has one of those probiotic milkshakes. He walks right up to me, completely ignoring the customer I'm with. Hey, Van Diem, look at me. I look around. He's clearly speaking to me, and that's definitely not my name. I will help you in a moment, sir, I tell him. Clearly, he doesn't like that answer. I'm off my meds now. I ain't crazy, Van Dame. This guy gets more agitated, scolding at me and yelling. I'm getting more and more uneasy, and none of my coworkers are in sight. I'm sorry, sir, but I don't know you. If you keep calling me crazy, Van Dame, he interrupts, I'll take you behind the dumpster and break your legs and your jaw and dump you there. I know when you get off. Now I'm clearly shaken. And the customer I was talking to the left, he was also disturbed. Thanks, man. But before I can even think of what to do or say, the weird guy walks off and starts starts smacking an arcade machine we have, trying to talk to a father and a child across the room. I say something about meds right as my trainer walks back in. I tell her the story and she asks the man to leave. Seems hesitant, but he does as she says. Needless to say, I didn't walk to my car alone after that shit, so weird smoothie man, let's not meet. Yes, I have plenty of these kinds of stories, many work related, some not. I've definitely got one that definitely belongs on here, but I'm too scared to post it. Hopefully someday I will though. I'm a 16-year-old male, and I work at a movie theater, and I'm a janitor. After every movie, I would go in to clean all the stuff that people just threw on the floor, not caring if anyone else has to clean it or not. Trust me, once you become a janitor, you see how selfish pulling a stunt like littering is, or just throwing trash all over the floor. Anyways, when I do my job, it gets super dark out in the room I'm cleaning, obviously, and I can't see anything that good, but just enough to clean. So, when I went into the theater room, I ignored the figure that I thought looked like a man, thinking it was just a cardboard cutout or something. How stupid of I. I wish I wasn't so naive back then. So I get down to the theater room to do my job, and I start hearing moving. I look up and see a man just sitting there in the back row of the seats, just staring lifelessly at the screen like a movie was playing or something. I call out to him that it's 1 a.m. and the movie doesn't start until 2 a.m. Then we wouldn't be open, and to come back around 7 a.m. when we open the next day, because we'll be closing after the last movie, which is at 2 a.m. Me being innocent and naive, thought he was just early maybe, but he put on a creepy smile, showing all of his crooked yellow teeth, and he sat in the same exact way, not moving an inch of his body except his head, and he stares right at me, same dead eyes, not even blinking it looks like. And we just sit there for like 2 minutes. It was probably one of the weirdest parts of my life. It was weird as hell. I just say, okay, and I get back to cleaning. I plug in my iPod and start listening to music. Whatever was popular in the 2000s to mid-2000s. Then I hear something again. I look back. This time he's standing on the stairs to get to the other rows. He had one hand behind his back and had a ski mask on now. This was around Halloween, so I thought it might have been a prank. I tell him, look man, I'm cool with you staying, but find a seat and stay there please. He just sits there, the same expression on his face and everything. I look back and I mumble something about getting security just in case, then go back to sweeping popcorn that was tossed all over the floor, this time not with music though. And I randomly look back and he is literally only a foot behind me holding a knife. I run out of there and he jumps and tries to grab me but falls on his face. I told my boss and he ran down to the theater room, phone with 911 in the hand. My other coworker Jin checked the security cameras, but he left, and it was too dark to see him before he had his ski mask on. But luckily, he never came back. It's a weird movie theater guy who tried slicing me or something. Let's not meet again, please. Some history before I share what actually happened. My friend named Christian and I wanted to go see The Purge 2 when it first came out. Neither of us were legal to drive yet, so we asked my older brother Kyle to drive us. Kyle had already seen the movie and opted to see a different movie with a later showing. No problem, as we did this often. Our movies started a half hour apart. Mine and Christina's at 10:20 and Kyle's at 10:50. Important, if you don't know, The Purge is a movie where any and all crime is legal for 24 hours. The movie theater was set up to where once midnight or so hit, they would turn the lights off in the front lobby and lock the doors leading outside. You could exit once the doors locked, but you could not enter once you left. Trust me, this is important for later. So Christian and I watched the movie and all that good stuff, and we are sitting in the dark lobby waiting until Kyle's showing is over. Everyone from our theater had left at this point, and it was just the two of us. Christian suggested sneaking into Kyle's theater, but I denied because it seemed pretty popular that night, and I didn't want to get in trouble. Yes, I'm a wuss. Finally, after waiting what felt like an eternity, she suggests waiting outside. It was a fairly good night, and warm enough to wait. I agreed, and so we head on out. Keep in mind, doors are locked by now. We're sitting there having a grand old time, dancing, singing, doing whatever until my brother was out. There were about 20 to 30 cars in the lot, which was seen as busy for this small town. We lived a half-hour drive from here. Suddenly, our attention is drawn to this scraggly looking dude riding around on a bicycle. It's fairly dark by now, and our only light source were a few light poles in the lot. We're sitting there on the curb of the theater, so the light's not really reaching us. This guy gave me the absolute creeps. He seemed like the average looking druggie from Indiana. Our state's known for drug busts. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. I just wanted to avoid him at all costs. Christian decides it's a great idea to call out to this dude. She compliments his shirt and he spots us alone in the dark. I give her a glare and mutter how she's being a moron and how that was a dumb idea. He bikes over to us and thanks her. He asks us what we're doing, to which Christian stupidly replies, waiting for her brother's show to finish. Great, now he knows we're locked out. He asked us what we saw, and she tells him. He's familiar with the movie apparently. He smiles a really big creepy smile, and then says, oh yeah, that movie seems like a real good idea. I know exactly who I would take out first. Then winks at us. At this point, alarm bells are going off in my head, and this guy won't leave us alone and insists on waiting with us. I'm desperately trying to go anywhere that he's not at. My phone's dead, Christian's phone's dead, and we're locked out. We're in a real bad situation right now. This guy begins to tell us a bunch of crazy, almost made up sounding stories. Then he chuckles the most disturbing laugh I ever heard, and at this point, I'm ready to cry. Christian is finally aware of what a mistake she made, and is starting to back away from him. They were sat next to each other. He notices and promises, there ain't nothing to be afraid of. It's just us out here alone. To my relief, a couple people are walking through the lobby, and I get their attention, letting them know we're locked out. They catch my drift and let us both back in. I look back in time to see the creep about to leave, and I notice something shiny sticking out of his back pocket, shaped like a blade. He turns around it as if he feels me staring and catches my glance. He looks down at his pocket and back to me and winks. He finally rides off into the night on that stupid bike of his. Anyways, creepy movie theater dude, let's not meet again. This happened when I was about 6 or 7. I'm female, by the way. So, one night I was at a movie theater with my dad and my brother, and my dad asked us if we needed to use the bathroom. My brother does have to go, so they go, and my dad originally asked me to go with him. But me thinking I'm a big girl says I'll wait outside. He hesitantly agrees and says that I can stay outside, but to stay there. Me being the adventurous little girl I was back then, decided I would walk around and look at the candy and drinks. So while I'm doing that, I decide to go to those fruit freezy drinks or whatever they're called, the off-brand movie theater kind. And then comes a tall old man, maybe in his late 40s to early 50s. He has an old leather coat, and he's wearing it over a stained up white t-shirt that reeks of cigarette smoke, and both are all ripped up. And he has really red eyes. He just stands there for about a second, then takes a knee so he can talk to me easier, and slowly says, hey there. Me not knowing what to say stands there and lets out a super quick hi. He then tells me, I got candy in my car. Let's go get some of it. Me never having the stranger danger talk or anything like that, of course oblige. He then grabs my hand super hard. It kind of surprised me or something, so little me started crying and screaming. Everyone looked our way, including my dad and my brother who just left the bathroom. The man says, oh crap, and starts to run with my hand in his, but then 3 other people, including my dad, jump in his way, and he falls, causing me to also fall. Then he gets up, this time without his bad-smelling leather coat because it fallen off, and he started to run away. Needless to say, the cops were called, and there was nothing much they could do, or that could be done. They took the coat and said they might get his DNA with it, which seems pretty unlikely. They said the guy sounds dangerous, and they think he sounds familiar. But anyways, weird movie theater guy, let's not meet again. When I was 16, I'm male. I went to a mall movie theater to see the first movie of the Dark Knight franchise. Good movie. I was pretty hype about it. When I was waiting, I was with my 2 other friends, one female, she was kind of a tomboy, and the other male. Then this stinky, dirty, younger woman came up wearing surprisingly actually expensive and name-brand clothes, but kind of dirty and ripped up. And she comes up to us. She looks messed up and tells us something obviously fake. She tells us how she is starving, she got stabbed, and she showed us her shirt, which was a little bit wet, probably just some water, and claimed it was blood. Then she just went on and on about a lot of other stuff that was apparently going on with her. We know it's BS. She then asked if we'll be kind enough to give her $20 to feed her kids. We now know she's probably a drug addict or something like that. If she needed this money, why was she wearing a literal Gucci belt? We tell her we only got money for the movie tickets and we're sorry and hope she gets better. We then start to walk forward and she grabs my wrist and says, "No, give me some money now." A younger man behind us say, "Hey, get back, girl. Get out of here. Nobody's gonna give you any money." She then makes a face at him. Then them two get in an argument. We just continue down and she continues to argue with that man. So we just go ahead and watch the movie. Then we go out to eat at a local pizzeria. We just joke around about the weird woman from the movies. But then, the next day, I see a news report that will haunt my life forever. Dead body found in movie theater dumpster. They briefly show the man who was killed. It was the guy behind us that argued with that woman. And then they showed the killer, and it was that woman. Apparently, she waited outside for the whole 2 hours and 32 minutes of the movie, somehow got him behind the building, and stabbed him to death. I'm so thankful it wasn't me that was murdered. After all, she did give us those dirty looks, so maybe if this guy didn't jump in, I would have been the victim. I also feel bad for the victim and his family. So, weird movie theater woman, let's never ever meet again, and I hope you're rotting in jail. Well, I work in a movie theater, and there's been a ton of accounts of paranormal activity. A manager has told me about their experience with seeing a full-on ghost one night, and having unexplainable things happen to him while he was there. Well, I've started working there back in October, and the place had just been renovated, so the whole lobby and all the auditoriums are completely redone. I've always been interested in the paranormal and have never really experienced anything, but recently some things has happened that I just want to chalk down as coincidence, but have made me feel really uneasy at the time. A couple of weeks into the job, I was closing with a couple of other people. When we close, we have to wait for all the showings to end so we can go and collect trays after the last showing. We have 4 huge auditoriums and 8 smaller ones. So we had just gone through one big auditorium, Theater 3. It's got an eerie vibe compared to the other ones, and a couple of us were just chatting in there while we waited for the next showings to end. I made mention of ghosts since they've been working here longer than me, and they told me a few stories. While we continued on about ghosts, a theater light flickered. I didn't notice it, but my coworkers did and told me, but I just assumed they were pulling my leg. I was in the middle of mentioning some stories of a friend who previously worked here when suddenly that light went out. We chuckled awkwardly and I brushed it off as coincidence. Well, fast forward to last week. I'm in Theater 3 with one other guy who's been there for a while as well. Naturally, I want to see if he has any experiences, so I ask. We talk about it, and I begin mentioning the light going out in the theater. We're at the top of the seats, closest to the ceiling, and there's a light right above me that happens to go out as we discuss it. I awkwardly laugh and say, "Guess this number 3 is haunted," but I can't shake that maybe it wasn't a coincidence. A little later, I head to Theater 6 alone to make sure it's empty and collect trays. Theater 6 is a theater where my manager saw the ghost. I'm walking across the last row when suddenly the light right above me goes dim. I glance around super quickly and notice no other lights is affected. I talk and laugh to myself. Screw that. And I rushed out of there. I felt so nervous after that. I'm just curious if anyone thinks that was paranormal in any way, or am I just getting spooked too easily? Basically, what happened was, lights have gone out twice at my theater job at the mention of ghosts. Lights dimmed on me while I was alone one night in the auditorium too. And that is my story. Thank you for listening.